guys, Minnesota News now out here at the Buffalo Police Department. We're out here to get an officer compliment form for Sergeant Brown of the Buffalo Police Department. Great interaction with him. I don't know if I'm going to tie the two videos together, but just unreal.
That's okay, we were open. So what can I help you with?
Do you guys have an officer compliment form I can get from you?
Officer
Compliment form.
compliment.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, just a sec. We don't really have a compliment form, we have a complaint form, but Sergeant Brown wants to come talk to you.
Oh yeah,
On a call, you'll come out.
that's who I wanted to compliment.
Oh, okay, you'll come out.
Oh, you're perfect.
Hey, Jason.
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
So I was actually coming up to get a compliment form for you,
Oh, okay.
but they said you don't have
Yeah,
compliment
we
forms.
have complaint forms, but not compliment forms necessarily. So,
What's the deal, man?
so it's more of like, you can send in an email or something like that to chief.
Okay.
It's basically pretty informal,
Okay, yeah, because I mean, if you do a good job, like I said, we recognize that too. So
Yeah.
yeah, I appreciate it. How? She said you wanted to come talk to me. So
No, I was just like, she said, he wants a compliment form, and I said, well, I was on the phone, and then I'm like, oh, I'll just go talk to him.
Oh,
I'll just go
okay.
talk to him. So it's more of just, hey, I was the one that talked to him earlier, so I'll go talk to him now.
oh yeah, no, that's what I did. I wanted to come up and compliment, get the form to send in to.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Because like I said, it goes both ways, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, they like I said, I hung out there for a little bit, and then they just kind of left, and
Yeah.
I mean,
And I talked to security and everything like that. And
Yeah.
they when I told them like our conversation and everything,
Yeah.
they're like, oh yeah, yep, we get it. And he's like, sometimes when people don't have as much experience, sometimes they get a little
Yep.
elevated with things, and that was kind of his opinion too. And he said he understood, and I said, you didn't seem like a threat at all. You didn't, there was no crime, nothing like that. So
yeah.
and he's like, was he on the property and everything? And I said, no.
Oh, we're
Just on
very
the
careful.
sidewalk.
In fact, it's weird. Their property line. So like, if this is the sidewalk area,
Yeah.
their property does this like weird loop thing like this. So
Okay.
yeah, it's.
Yeah, so you definitely check into it before you go.
Oh, definitely. Oh, yeah, because, and then the other thing with trespass too, right? Like, so the one we had with Brooklyn Center, and that's another department that kind of went a little iffy and then found out and then went really good. So
Yeah.
now it's almost like, well, even like Edina, right? If someone calls, they don't even respond. They just tell them on the phone, look, they're not doing anything illegal. They can
Yeah,
do
and
it.
that's when you came here.
Yep.
That's what I first initially thought it was. That someone's calling in on you.
Oh.
Because I was on the phone, so I'm like hearing like, there's somebody wants to.
Oh yeah, because I
say-
called on the.
There's a guy with a mask and then with a camera and everything, and so that's all I heard. And so the only thing my partner, the detective, and I were saying was tell him he can do it. Like there's nothing wrong. So
Yeah.
that's pretty much how we feel about it.
Well, and like again, that's cool. It's like I was talking to the other guy one of the other guys I filmed with too. I'm like, dude, Buffalo is like awesome. I don't know about Wright County. I don't know about the sheriff's department, but if this is how it's gonna be out here, I mean, you're gonna see us come out. We're gonna film, and then pretty much that's it. Now, like I said, like Robbinsdale now, I told one of the officers, and he was super cool about it. He's like, dude, I get it. I really get it. If we had an officer act like that, and then our command staff doesn't want to deal with it and talk to you guys to try to correct it, because I went out on a cop watch, and he was super cool too. And he's like, dude, I get it. Someone has to keep us in check and continue until it gets resolved, right? And I said, we're not going to interfere. We're not going to do anything, but we also need to make sure to let people know. And like you said, all of it needs to be captured. So like when we film, I'll start filming ways away. And then that way, because it's always, like, I don't know if you're familiar with body cams, but they're kind of like the squad cams, when you cue it, it backs up without audio, like 30 seconds to a minute.
Oh, yeah. I didn't.
So, but there's no audio during that time, so you only get video.
Oh, you're talking about the back? Okay, yeah.
Yep.
Like some of them will cue in earlier. Yeah.
Yep, so when you cue it to record, it already is record, but that's when it picks up.
Yeah, I think it's dependent on the technology that you get.
Yeah. Plymouth they've had issues with their car cameras too, because they're supposed to be GPS linked, but I pulled one of them and it like showed them driving through a lake. I've had a couple really bad interactions with Plymouth, Hennepin County Sheriffs, and West Hennepin.
Okay.
believe it or not. So, and it was, the interaction started at the workhouse, because I was over there filming, and they actually have some cool stuff that I didn't even know about. Like and again, it's not like I'm up there trying to film in the jail and it's broad daylight, you can see me and see what I'm doing. And, you know, again, how our interaction went, completely different than, you know, you getting out of your car screaming at me right away. Well, my first question to you is, am I detained? And we never even had that conversation, right?
No, didn't need to.
Exactly. And, but when the respect level, and that's kind of another part of it too. And if they would have said, no, you're not being detained, but we got a call, so I just want to hear your side, if you don't mind talking.
So and in my brain, my thoughts coming over to you are, when it comes to detainment, right? I'm basically trying to establish probable cause to see if a crime has been, or will be committed, right?
Yep.
And I have a legal reason to be there as a police officer because
Someone.
we've been called, right? There's a
Yep.
complaint, somebody's videotaping that sort of thing. But when I see you,
Yep.
and I see what you're doing, it's very clear, it's very plain what you're doing, am I at that point investigating something that, right? Am I at that point investigating a crime that has been, or will be? And at that point, in my personal, now I can't speak for other officers
Right.
who are given the information that they have at the time, and that's
Yep.
important, because it can be different how it appears to some more than others. But
Yep.
from where it appeared to me at that point, you know, especially with the mask mandate and everything like that,
Yep.
you're not this masked fiend that's trying to, you know what I mean?
Right.
So this and what you're wearing is actually commonplace,
Yep.
right? So when I see that kind of takes that out of the context, right?
Yep.
And so at that point, I just basically having a conversation with you about what I had a conversation with the complainant,
Yep.
and then,
But, you know, and that's why I asked for your name, so I could actually give you the compliment, you know.
I
And,
appreciate it. Yeah, we'll just tell you.
yeah, right. Well, and that's the thing too. It's like being human, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's like just being courteous. I mean, the best thing I ever heard was he was a sergeant, then the director of public safety, and he goes, you know, the way I've always told everyone is we're all human, and we put our pants on one leg at a time. And even if as long as you treat people like that, you tend not to get the violent interaction because they respect you as a person, but they understand you have a job. So even if they got a felony warrant, you're like, dude, I gotta take you in. You got a felony warrant. You know, I'm really sorry, but it's my job. You know, and they're like, yeah, okay. Versus if you're already put the ego out there and you made it a personal thing, you know, and that's what gets a lot of people. I mean, on both sides, people in trouble.
And I would say it's on both sides because there's two scenarios I'm thinking of just in my experience.
Yep.
Where you do the polite thing, and
Yep.
it's taken advantage of.
Yep.
Or you, and then the other part is you find out that if you're quicker to respond, quicker to go hands-on in certain circumstances,
Right.
where somebody does have a warrant, that sort of thing, don't give them the opportunity. You know, it doesn't necessarily have to be an ego thing,
Right.
but this is what's happening, this is happening now, and we need to do this.
Yes.
You know?
And that's the firm but respectful firm, right?
Right.
You know, and that's what, you know, like the other guy I go out with, he's a former Ranger, right? So him and I have that same kind of understanding, head on a swivel, see if we're being followed. I mean, I did that too. That's why you guys don't ever see where I park or how you're like, how the hell did you get here? You know, I don't even see a car.
Yeah, I was like, well, I was thinking it's a little warm out here, and then I was like looking at your equipment, I'm like, how far did he walk?
People are gonna be like, well, maybe I wanna move to Buffalo because, dude, the cops are like super cool. You know, they'll actually not come up and shoot us.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, we'll be firm if we need to.
but firm is,
right?
you know, but you have to be in your profession. You know, we never fault that, but it's when you get that ego, and that gets everyone in trouble, both sides, right?
Yeah, and I'd say that's a human problem. You know, I think I would say the biggest problem hitting America right now, and this is my personal opinion.
Yep.
Is the hearts of men.
Yes.
Not necessarily, you know, the selfishness. I really think selfishness is a big problem right now.
Oh.
It's all about who's it about?
Yep.
It's about this guy, and you know, it's about me, and I just, you know, I really hope that, yeah, if I could wish anything, I would wish that ego gets checked at the door.
Yes.
Pride gets checked at the door.
Yep.
For everybody, and we feel a bit more united.
Well,
I think
that's
we all
like-
want that.
That's like you and I. We had a great conversation. They could have did the same thing and not even called you, right?
Yeah.
You know, and our interaction would have never happened.
Yeah.
You know, and that's kind of the goal. Although I found with nurses, I think there's like this Karen thing that they have to like pass before they do that, and then flip out. And they did. I mean, they weren't super rude, but they just
Yeah, it had changed by the time I got back over there.
Did it?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, they were. It kind of like they had a moment to think,
yeah.
and then it was like, and then when I described our conversation, described
Yeah.
how you talked, how you spoke with me, then the walls went down and everything else.
Yeah,
And I felt pretty good about it.
and you know, they put their curtain sheet thing up, and I'm like, well, it shouldn't take me being there for that to happen. That should be, like I said, you go by the hospital, they don't even have walls on it, right? It's just a canopy,
Yeah.
you know, and I'm like, so if I stand there, what are they gonna do? It's about the dialogue, you know, it's like we had, you know, and then I came up here and continue, and I think it's awesome, and that's what we're going for, and I'm like, I gave Plymouth, like I was doing in between the two incidents, I watched one doing a traffic stop, because I was leaving Home Depot for a job, and picked up supplies, and they, you know, he seen me standing there, and it was dark out, and so it's a little bit more
Right,
suspicious.
so you have a little bit more there.
Right. So he looked around, he came up, and he's just like, hey man, I'm just curious what you're doing. I'm like, I'm just filming. And I told him. He's like, all right, that's cool. I was curious. I'm like, hey, I respect that. That's part of the job, right? I mean, you have to be naturally curious to do the job. It's like reporting and filming, right? I mean, you have to be naturally curious to find stories to report on.
Yeah.
And
I
stay-
had a buddy that was hit by a vehicle. The actual guy, the guy that trained me in as a police officer,
Yep.
when I first started, he shot and killed a domestic,
Yeah.
saving a girl's life. So,
I mean, domestics are one of the, I think, the most dangerous situation for law enforcement. I think second is traffic.
oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Because domestics, you go in and all of a sudden they're fighting each other, you get there and now they're both fighting you.
Yeah.
Because they don't want one or the other to go to jail. And it's like, but I don't have a choice. It's the state that makes that decision for all of us.
Yeah.
Challenge.
That's why they do forced science, right? They do forced science to understand an officer's reaction given everything
Yes.
coming at the same time. Like, they'll do studies of officers who are involved in the shooting, and they'll notice like he'll shoot after it seems like the suspect's down. They'll
Yes.
find out he shoots another shot, and they're kind of like, well, the question to the public is, whoa, wait a minute, doesn't it seem a little bit overboard? But then what they find out is for science, the delayed,
Yes.
when you're dealing with something and then you have that delayed reaction, and that's why that shot comes out. And I'm glad they have things like forced science,
Right.
Because then, right, because it's that truth bit. You at least understand the science behind
Yes.
what the police perceive and everything.
Well, and two, I mean, if you've ever done the FATS shooting scenario, I mean, you're standing in front of a screen,
Yeah.
and it's laser dots that aren't really accurate. And yes, the scenario can change to whatever they want it to be, but that's not real life by any means,
Yeah, it doesn't prepare you.
It helps, but it doesn't it helps get you in a mindset, but it doesn't put you in a real life situation by any means. And that's another thing too, is one of the things we want to get into is agencies that'll let us come in and show that type of training to see what you guys go through. And I just learned about the force science. That's new to me, so
Yeah.
and that's good to get out
That
too.
is really a cool deal. That it really helps out separate the truth from what is, because when you see something on video,
Oh, yeah.
right, you're thinking, well, it's on video, but then when you look at the science behind it, you see a person's ability to take in information,
Yep.
and then delve out information plus action.
Yes.
You find out there is scientific analysis that is behind it that shows why there is that delay, why there are things.
And absolutely, and that, like you said, there's so much to it, and you only get such little bit out of it that, when you do an internal investigation, which I think if they stop doing a lot of those, and they, like the one year in Georgia, I think it was like they had 11 officer-involved shootings and killings, and each one was completely cleared.
Okay, yep, thanks.
And each one was completely cleared, not only by Civilian Review Board, but also by an internal investigation and by GBI, which would be our BCA.
Yeah.
And so that really took out a lot of the public mistrust that, oh, hey, it's our only agency doing our investigation. Of course they're gonna side with themselves, right? I mean, not saying they would, but the perception is.
Right, then that's the thing, is perception, yeah.
And so, all right, well, I'm gonna let you go. I know you got a phone call, so I appreciate you coming up and talking some more, but
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, maybe I'll reach out and email too to your chief and see if he's wanting
Like I
to.
said, you don't have to, and I appreciate it, you know,
Well,
either way, I appreciate talking to you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it too, and
And like, and you know, when you started talking about, you know, the whole truth, right?
Right.
The whole truth from beginning to end, hey.
all of it. All right, have a good one.
Yeah, you too, Jason.
All right, guys. Well, another great interaction with Sergeant Brown, and I'm gonna go ahead and head out and call Buffalo a definite pass, and awesome.